Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to our Saturday morning Chaitanya Charitamrita class. We're very privileged and happy to have with us today His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, who is a very, very qualified personality, holding a PhD also in applied management and decision sciences, and is a disciple of Bhaktivedanta Maharaj and very much following in his footsteps, preaching about the importance of turning lust into love. I think that's one of the major themes that Maharaj is going about. And today we'll have a very nice verse that he will speak on. So let's just welcome Maharaj with 3 loud Haribols. Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for joining us. And so I will now share the screen and put on the slide with the verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you could take over. So over to you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jaya Jaya Suchaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chanda Jaya Gora Bhaktivedanta Jaya Jaya Suchaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chanda Jaya Gora Bhaktivedanta Jaya Jaya Suchaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chanda Jaya Gora Bhaktivedanta. So Suchaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 145 to 146. Bhagawan Bahu Hete Yabe Kela Mana Prakrita Saktite Tabe Kela Vilokana Sekale Nahi Jane Prakrita Mano Nayana Atewa Aprakrita Brahmera Nitra Mana. So word for word translation, very quickly. Bhagawan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bahu, many. Hete, to become. Yabe, when. Kela, made. Mana, his mind. Prakrita, material. Saktite, on the energy. Tabe, at that time. Kela, did. Vilokana, glancing. Sekale, at that time, nahi, not. Jadme, in creation. Prakrita, mundane. Mana, nayana, mind and eyes. Atewa, therefore. Aprakrita, transcendental. Brahmera, of the absolute truth. Netra mana, eyes and mind. So translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead wished to become many, he glanced over the material energy. Before the creation, there was no mundane eyes or mind. Therefore, the transcendental nature of the absolute truth mind and eyes is confirmed. Purport. In the Chandogya Upanishad 6.2.3, it is said, Tad Ekshata Bahushyam Prajayeya. This verse confirms the fact that when the Supreme Personality of God wishes to become many, the cosmic manifestation arises simply by his glancing over material energy. It may be noted that the Supreme Lord glanced over the material nature before the creation of this cosmic manifestation. Before the creation, there were no material minds or material eyes. Therefore, the mind by which the Supreme Personality of Godhead desired to create is transcendental. And the eyes with which he glanced over material nature are also transcendental. Thus, the Lord's mind, eyes, and other senses are all transcendental. Open Gyana to Mirandas, Gyana Jana Salaka, Saxola Meditam, Jana Tasmai, Say Goravhina Maha, Suchetayam Manobistam, Stafitam Jana Potali, Swayam Rupam, Kadamayam, Vedati Swa, Padantikam. Vanchakalpatari Byacha, Kripasunabia Evacha, Patitanam, Pavanabio, Vaishnavibio, Namo Namo. Namam Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Itinaman. Namaste Saraswati Deve. Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvisesa Sonyapadi Pachotya Disatarini. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Advaita Gadara Siva Sadi Sigora Bhaktivedanta. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodita. Godadhaya Puspavanto Chito Chando Tamon. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, I'm glad to be privileged to be a part of this the morning program. And this text is very explicit. And the purport made very remarkable commentary. Now, we need to understand, or we have to understand that the statements of the Upanishads are a little bit different from the statements we find in the commentary of the Vedanta Sutra in the form of the Bhagavatam. Because the Bhagavatam basically gives us an idea about the relationship between the Lord and his devotees. The activities between the Lord and the activities of the Lord and his devotees. Now, the Upanishads is a little bit different because the Upanishad is tinged with some type of impersonalism. And that's why you find out when Prabhupada made even the reference to the Chandogya Upanishad, he specifically indicated that this verse confirms the fact that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, now you don't find, or you had, I don't want to generalize that, because we have 108 Upanishads, you hardly find this terminology, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the Upanishads. And so, a lot of people, when they go to the East, a lot of scholars, when they go to the East, they end up becoming, they may even read the Upanishads. And even you find that there is a reflection, there is a dim reflection of the personality of Godhead, but not directly spoken of all the time in the Upanishads. Like you find in the Isa Upanishad, there is that expression that, oh Lord, remove the veil of your on your face so that I can see you. These are dim reflections of the idea that there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead behind the curtain. And so we find that because Prabhupada, his commentaries are purely personal or based on the personality Krishna's two Bhagavan Swayam, he will always, sometimes you find Prabhupada, he will repeat the personality, the terminology, the personality of God, and in a way that it will create an impression on someone who is coming from Upanishadic background. And so in this very text, in the Chandogya Upanishad, I just want to reflect on this very text. Tadaksheta Bhushyam Prajaye Yeti Tatejo Srijata. Tateja Akshata Bhushyam. You see, Bhushyam appears twice in this very text. Look, the idea that the Lord wants to become many, it is a concept that is clearly available in the Upanishad. And for the Vaishnav taste, this is not something strange, because in the Bhagavatam we find that Krishna expands first to Balaram, and then on and on and on and on. When it comes to, the process of creation, he glances over material nature and impregnates material nature with living entities, etc. Now, you don't find this type of graphic details about the process, the very process of creation in the Upanishads. Most of the Upanishads, people read the Western scholars, they come to the East, they read Upanishads, they end up becoming impersonalists. It's not that Western scholars do not know the Vedic literatures. A number of them know the Vedic literatures, but the problem is they are, in most cases, exposed to the Upanishadic philosophy, Upanishadic concepts. And Upanishadic concepts are meant to blow your understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, here, this statement in the Chandogya Upanishad, I shall be many. And so, the question is, who is to be many? It's just Brahman? Because Brahman is spirit. And in terms of creation, there is a whole graphic details about the process of creation in the Bhagavatam. And so in this discussion between Lord Chaitanya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Lord Chaitanya is trying to impregnate Sarvabhauma with the idea that, look, people are talking about Upanishadic students juggling words here and there. There's a clear delineation here. And so the word in this very text of the Chandogya Upanishad, the word ikshata means decided. Now, when people talk about decision sciences or decision making, it has to do with a personality. It has to do with a personality. So it is not just something impersonal. Something impersonalism or impersonalism will not facilitate a decision making. It could have some influence, some energy influence, but it will not really enhance the process of the decision sciences. And so we are very blessed by the list, because for a number of us who might even be interested in exploring the Vedic tradition or the Vedic literature, who without the mercy of Prabhupada, we wouldn't come to understand Krishna's true Bhagavan Swayam. And so the essence of transformation, or the process of expanding himself, is not something new, because we find that even when Lord Krishna was physically present on the planet, he deliberated on these expansions. And now, one very intriguing question is, why would the Supreme Lord himself? Why? Just be yourself only now. So we have, there's a sociological reason for this. I mean, just like when Krishna wants to relish Madhurya mellows, then it facilitates or he induces the presence of Radharani. In other words, Radharani is just the pleasure potency of the Lord. And so, for those of us, okay, you look at most of the incarnations of the Lord. Say, Lord Ram. Lord Ram did not appear alone. He came with, with his brothers, Satrugna and other people. And also when Krishna came, he didn't come alone. So what is the sociological ideology behind this? Even the Lord, he socializes. And so when he's coming, he comes with his retinue. We don't see the Lord in any of the incarnations, any of his incarnations. It's very rare when he comes in a human form. We see vividly that he engages in different pastimes. And these pastimes, he wants to enjoy it with his devotees. And so, the idea of being many should not be strange, because it has to be enhanced. We need many people. If you have the best meal, the best dish available to you, and you just eat by yourself, you lock yourself in your room, or lock yourself in an ashram, or lock yourself in a house, and you eat it all up. Yes, you will fill your belly, but when you have your friends and family members sit on the dining table and all of you are enjoying the meal, that enhances happiness. That is what many people help. That is how many people help in creating an input in the sociological upliftment of the community. So Krishna, he had a number of wives, but even these wives, even his wives, 16,108, even his wives, he expanded into that equal number of forms to be able to have association with his wives, with his queens. Another example where Krishna expands is when Lord Brahma came to take away the cowherd boys, seal them up in a cave, and Lord Krishna realized what Lord Brahma had did, and so what he did was just to expand himself into all of these boys and cows, and so Lord Brahma was taken aback. So this is the potency of this. This is the unlimited potency of the Lord. Now, one may query that, hey, wait a minute. If you are perfected in cedar, you can also expand yourself. Yeah, but that is very limited. You can't expand to 16,108 forms. Maybe 8. So again, we see how mystical perfection is so powerful. And Krishna he's the best of he's the best of yogis. He's the Yogeshwaram. So we see that while the ordinary yogis endeavor so much to do, to achieve, just with a twinkle of an eye, without any stress, Krishna could just, manifest that. And so we also find that the whole of this cosmic creation, Krishna mentions in the Gita, that is actually emanating from him. And so if the living entity understands why is Krishna displaying his opulence like this, if the living entity understands the opulence of the Lord, he may be forced to surrender to the Lord. Because people get close to you, people want to become your friends when they know your qualities, when they know your status, when they know your accomplishments, what you can do. Nobody wants to befriend, or let me not generalize. Majority of people, they only like to associate with someone who has a lot of potency, a lot of wealth, or someone who has a lot of information culture, a lot of knowledge. And Krishna displays all of these opulences just to be able to attract, the conditioned soul. And in the process of doing that, we learn a lot of things. Now, if Krishna is coming to this world, and he also expands in different forms to be able to cater to some needs. And when he's coming to this world, in his incarnations, he also comes with a retinue. He comes with brothers and sisters. Now, what does this mean to us sociologically? I'm posing this question because I have also seen that some people, they like to give birth to only one child. And that might be a good thing in Kali Yoga, where maintaining a family is so difficult. But again, we have to see how, if a child is isolated, again, look at Krishna's life. When he was in Vrindavan, he had so many boyfriends. And they will come, they will go to the forest together to attend to breed the cows, to breed the calves, to head the calves. Why? He could just do this by himself alone. But no, we are social human beings. Human beings are social animals. And so Krishna is also demonstrating that, how when he expands into many, there is that flavor, there is that, it's juicier to be around your friends, to play around with your friends, than you just playing by yourself. And therefore, it is important for us to understand the implications, some of the sociological implications of these very pastimes. Krishna, like I mentioned about Krishna's appearance, he never appears alone. And when you decide to invoke a child into your family, and you want that child to be by himself or by herself, the child is deprived of sociological interactions, because the child will not be playing with the parents all the time. The child needs also other children to be able to play with. Well, you may argue that, well, I send my child, I send my child to the playground to be able to play with me, with other kids. Yes, that's fair enough. But in the house, again, the child needs someone to associate with. So the bottom line is that Krishna made all these arrangements. He knows that the people in general, they need association. They need to socialize. And if you read, if you read books like Larissa Manava and some of these Goswami books, you'll find the intimate talks between Krishna and his friends, people like Madhumanga. So there is that deeper connection that is created when someone is your friend and you are with your friend. There's some of the things that you may not tell your parents, you may tell your friend. So we have to see how we are enhancing the socialization especially for devoted children, when devoted children come together, there is that not just a socialization, but it's a spiritual socialization. Because then the children, they begin to have exchanges about the different Christian leaders, and they have some discussions, etc. And therefore, it is important that we also take into consideration and be able to explore why one thing is happening and the other thing is not happening. Now, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments that if one does not clearly understand the meaning of Parinamavada, or transformation of energy, one is sure to be, to miscue or to misunderstand situations, or to misunderstand the truth regarding the material or cosmic manifestation. But we know that cosmic manifestation is Krishna's external energy. But the transformation itself has to be understood. And so, the acharyas, they're very expert in trying to churn the ocean of transcendental knowledge and to be able to provide what is most important for us to grow. Now, Krishna himself mentions in the Gita that we need some guidance. Because just to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita or read the Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, that's good enough, but we need extra help. Because sometimes we may read the text and even with the purport, and we don't seem to understand. So it's the spiritual master who helps to help us to straighten things out, explicate things in a way that we can digest. And so Lord Krishna mentions in the Gita, he stressed the essential factor of someone having a service attitude towards his mentor and making some inquiries from his mentor or from her mentor. Because at some point in time, the jiva or the living entity, the conditioned soul, is bound to become confused. And the important factor is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he taught by his own exemplary standard. And Lord Chaitanya had to study, and the whole idea was to be able to make people, or make the contemporary people, more suitable for taking up Krishna consciousness. And Lord Chaitanya himself, he wanted us to be able to understand that there are so many impersonalists on the planet. And these impersonalists, they don't accept the version of the personalist. They may argue back and forth and give different analogies, which could be very confusing sometimes. And so, the Mayavadi philosophers consider many Vedic mantras to be Mahavakya, or principal Vedic mantra, such as Tattvamasi. Again, this is from the Chandogya Upanishad 6.8.7. Idam Sarvam Yadayam Atma, and Brahmedam Sarvam from the Brihad Arayanka Upanishad. So, just to be very eloquent in presenting or repeating the Shastra, that might be very good, but that's not enough. And therefore, we need to have a sense of devotion in terms of cultivating the knowledge of Bhakti. And so, again, it boils down to the point that we need to be guided. And with the guidance, it becomes easy. So, the graphic details, even about creation. Okay, for instance, there are so many things in the Bhagavatam. And, for most of us, we can read these things and repeat it. But some of us should be able to come to the standard where we not only repeat these things that we have read or we have seen in the Shastra, but we should be able to apply those very concepts in a problem-solving situation. So I'll give you an example. Now, I was invited by Russian scholar devotees. They have a conference for scholars, researchers coming up next month. So they wanted me to make a presentation on some research that I have done connected with the Vedic literature, Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam being the source of knowledge. And yes, Bhagavatam is the source of knowledge. And so one of those things that I generated or I developed was on embryology, understanding embryology in promoting peace leadership. Now, if you hear that, you may be wondering, what does this have to do with Bhagavatam? What does it have to do with the Vedic literatures? But yeah, this is coming from the Vedic literature. And what basically I did was to discuss about how Kapila Dev taught about how right from the time of conception, life is there in the womb. And the modern day culture is such that we are very much prone to extermination of the embryo. Nowadays, it is a very popular culture for, pro-life versus, anti-life. And so people are making so much of debate. But if we understand from the pages or from the Vedic literatures, there wouldn't be anything to argue about. So we have a lot to do. I remember I went to Croatia sometime a couple of years ago, and then I met this guy. Later, he became a parliamentarian. So I remember one time when I was still using Facebook, he asked me about, again, this a chapter in the Bhagavatam taught by Kapila about development of the embryo in the womb. So, and he was explaining to me that, the members of Congress in the parliament, they are debating on abortion laws. So what he did, he see the value of some of our devotees being planted in high places. So he's become a legislator. And so he was telling me how he just wanted to use the whole of that chapter against extermination of embryos. And he did it. And so all of these Bhagavatam texts, Chaitanya Charitamrita, philosophies, we could also utilize these very concepts and constructs in not just trying to defeat people, but trying to provide solutions, because there are so many problems in the world. And so it is important for our devotees to bear in mind that we have a chance to be able to help Prabhupada in propagating his teachings. Prabhupada brought this message to us, so we should see also how we are taking this message to other people. But the number of people are not really religious. And so we have to think of how to be able to transplant this knowledge into non-religious circles. And that is when we begin to think creatively. So again, back to the point. Krishna wanted to become many, and that's so easy for him. And so he expands and he glances. So the argument, this very strong argument is that, yeah, Krishna has his sensory modalities, he has his mind, he has this, he has that, but they are all spiritual. Krishna's sensory modalities are interchangeable. Our sensory modalities, our senses, I can only see with my eyes. I can't eat with my eyes. Krishna can eat with his eyes. He glances over the boga becomes prasadam. So it is up to us to see how we are helping out in spreading this message in different ways by using the philosophy of the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for this wonderful elaborations on this very impressive verse, an important verse. So far, we have not any questions in the chat, but maybe I can ask a question.
Sure.
Just about the last statements you made about that we have to use our sources of knowledge to provide solutions for society at large, which I find very interesting and very relevant. But also I find it difficult. For example, I was meditating about this. We're just now doing Bhakti Shastra here at the Bhaktivedanta Manor, and how to really like put these verses that we have in Srimad Bhagavad Gita into practice. Maybe could you give some of your experience how to really grasp?
Yeah.
These,
like what I was mentioning about, what the Russian devotees are doing. They are having a conference and they invited me, and what basically I did was I actually gave, I was able to give them two proposals, two papers which we accepted, two research works which we accepted. But what, it's not something really big, but to them it just is really big. First of all, I use the concept of chanting as a way of preventing financial fraud. Now, financial fraud is a big problem in the whole world. Every year, the world loses millions and millions of dollars because of financial fraud. And so I conducted some research. You asked for some explanation, so let me just give you this. As I was locked down, in the COVID, I was in the COVID lockdown in Vrindavan for 1 year. So instead of just lamenting on all these things, I embarked on some research project. And that was on chanting. So I conducted some research to see what because the chanting, yes, ultimately is to make us to become pure and go back to God. Okay. But that is the ultimate goal. But this intervention or the medication, every medication has some side effect, but the chanting has positive side effects. For instance, one of the side effects is that it promotes high self-control. And keep in mind, that might be a simple thing to the devotees, but in criminology, the main issue or the main cause of all problems on the planet, number one cause of all problems on the planet is low self-control. People cannot control themselves. Now, our Bhagavad Gita, the major emphasis Krishna gives is about, controlling the senses and being able to tailor our inner bearing for high productivity. And so I conducted this research, I generated a research question. Now, this is the beauty of having skills. Now, I generated a research question and developed this research. And because, say, chanting Hare Krishna is a religious ideology. Now, because I'm coming from a background of management science, and so most of my colleagues, most of my friends, they don't believe in God. So what do I do? I would say, well, it's so difficult. Now, instead of saying Hare Krishna, I said, I tagged it sonic therapeutic intervention. And then I explained about the whole process of chanting and how I interviewed some people, and then they told me the benefits that they got from this chanting, how it promotes your high self-control, and a number of other things. And so what the scientists want to see is not dogma, but what is your scientific proof? And so it makes it so easy. For me, it makes it so easy. easy for me to do preaching to people who say they don't believe in God. And so I did that. I conducted that research. And then I sent it to the World Academy of Science, Engineering, and Technology, because they're having a conference in London in June. I did that last year in October. And they accepted that research for presentation. Now, if ordinarily speaking, one could say, how did you make it? Yeah, it's skills. It's skills, an application of what is available. Now, if anybody wants to do this type of technical preaching, you have to be very vast in the Vedic literature. See, I've been hanging around in the system for 35 years. And so what happens is that some of the things that, ordinarily speaking, you could just recite, say, Vacha Vegam, Manasa Kruda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pasta Vegam, Eta Vegam, Yovi Sahita, Dhiram, Saramatima, Prithivip Sasacha. Now, this basically is a fundamental text, a fundamental model in terms of leading, in terms of global leadership. Because in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that if someone is able to control all of his senses and his mind, he very easily becomes a global leader. And we have these fundamental models. And what we do really need is to see how we become involved also in some technical skills so that we can talk in the language of the people out there, in the language of the non-religious people, in the language of the scientists, in the language of the management scientists, in the language of whatever, of the sociologists. So this is what basically I've been doing. And the other one about embryology is just so direct. It's just I coined the words from the management sciences, and what I did was just to add something like Vaishnava Vedanta approach. And so it is something that people need. See, I was directly instructed by my Guru Maharaj Bhaktivedanta Swami to do this type of things, and because those are the things that he was doing over the years. And so I found it very much challenging, at the same time very relishing, because this is a very cool way of planting the seeds of the Vedic literature in the community of management scientists, in the community of sociologists, in the community of criminal justice researchers, etc. So it takes time, but you have to understand the fundamental principle. You have to know the scriptures so much so that when you read something in the social sciences, you should be able to relate it to a section or some portion of the Vedic literature. So that is how you can generate concepts and constructs to be able to provide solutions to global issues, global problems, global crises. Thank you for your question and your inquisitiveness, and I really appreciate that, because the whole process begins with a desire to do something, a desire to do this. Yeah, you could also read some of my published works in peer-reviewed journals, and then you see how I go about with my works and my type of academic preaching. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It's really inspiring to hear from you. You have such a enthusiasm for. I can feel, this very much yeah, this enthusiasm to preach and to kind of change the world, and that's really nice to see. And I just want to summarize, if I understood correctly, like your main point is basically we should be able to kind of influence the discourse that the outer world is in, right? So that we can manage to get their language and then bring our ideas in their language. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah. A desire, initial desire has to be there. And this is not something that everyone can do, but initial desire, you may even have a PhD in some field, but if you don't have that acumen of integrating your field with the Vedic literature, it might be difficult. So we have to know both sides. We have to know our field, and then we have to have a vast knowledge of the Vedic literature. And then we can make some integration and create a very unique presentation to the people who say they don't believe in God.
Thank you, Maharaj. That's really incredible. So we have more questions here. First, there was a comment of Jolie Matachi. She said, Swamiji, maybe we need to target the cabinet in spreading the word to create safer, desirable changes. Probably relating to the comment you made about the parliamentarian in Croatia.
Yeah. Yeah, if you see some of our devotees, especially those who are in the intellectual field, those who are in the social sciences and management, even those who are in the pure sciences, if you have broad-based knowledge of the Vedic literature, we can always easily marry the two concepts, marry the two knowledge base and use that as a front in helping people in government. Because what people are lacking so much, they are just, you see them, they are smiling and laughing, but right deep within them, they're not happy. You know, they may have very high profile positions and they need help. And so some of us should go beyond just chanting and be happy and then we're contented with that. We should also try to see, like Prabhupada, there was no need for Prabhupada actually to come to the West, but he took that up to be able to come to help us all. So we should also think there are people in government that they have, see, I just had a program yesterday and it was organized by some lawyers and some, some NGO. And when I made the presentation, after the program, one of the organizers, a lawyer, he called me and said, "See, we have captured you. Anytime we need a program, we need you, just tell me that you will be available because we are stuck to you for life." That's what he told me. And then one of my friends, he messaged me that he asked the organizer that he's been traveling. He asked one of the organizers that how was Dr. Das's presentation, and then he said they told him that Dr. Das' presentation was just too amazing. So the point is that I don't say something really like, different from what we say in the Bhagavad Gita classes, but it's a marriage of the material and the spiritual information culture. And that creates a new blend. And then they really become captivated. In fact, that organization, the organizer, one of the organizers of the program, they said that, she was asking me, she's a lawyer, she was asking me that, do you have any other, I hope, after this program, you can just rest. I said, I don't have any rest. She said, what program are you having? I said, I have a program in London tomorrow. He said, what about program? I said, I have a program with a spiritual community. And guess what she said? These are people who are completely averse to God consciousness. Guess what she said? She said, we will also arrange for you to come and give us a spiritual discourse. Yeah, so it's so easy to be able to get people involved. So yeah, we have to create an avenue where, first of all, we should be friendly. You see, some of us, we have good intentions, but if we go out there and we don't want to be good listeners, one of the weapons is to be a good listener. They may say all sort of nonsense, but because also I was trained when I was in graduate school. I was trained. That was one of the courses we did. I was called critical, creative, and caring thinking. So I learned a lot from that class, from that course, except that the word Krishna wasn't there, but they really teach you so many good interactive processes. I'll give an example. So we are taught how to respond to bad input. If someone says something silly, how to respond to that? Do you say, hey, it's just nonsense? What are you talking about? Where's your proof about that? No. I remember I did when I was still using Facebook. I did this to one person, one devotee, and he was taken aback. He came to my page, Facebook page, to say something, make a comment about something, because I wrote something about management. And then he could come to say something that is completely oblivious to. He was completely oblivious to what I said there. So I said, I responded that I really appreciate your input here, and I would like to add that. Then I went on to say all the things I needed to say, back up with philosophy, back up with references and everything else. And he inboxed me. He said, you're a Swami, you're supposed to just chastise me in the public, but you did not. How did you get all this stuff, all this idea? How to deal with people like this? I said, well, I studied in school. We became friends right from that day. Because according to him, he said, what he said, he realized is silly. So I was supposed to just chastise him there. I would have taken the chastisement. But he said, I did not do that. I was just careful that I created a relationship. That was how it ended. So my point is, if you're talking to people, they don't know your philosophy. They may say something nonsensical, but and it's difficult for some of our devotees to buy this idea, because I remember I was speaking to some devotees, and they said, "Oh, but if they say something that is not right, why shouldn't I chastise the person?" I said, "It's not about chastising. If you want to follow what Prabhupada did, right now you're not Prabhupada. Prabhupada may chastise people, but he did that with purity of heart. We will do that with anger, and then we send the person away." So, bottom line is that we have to create an atmosphere of comradeship, friendship, friendliness. That when people see that we are friendly, it becomes easy for them to get close to us and learn from us. All right. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. And any other comments or questions?
Yeah, we'd have more questions, Maharaj. Thank you so much for the answer.
Okay.
There's one question from Komal. He asks, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the beautiful class. How do we remain creative whilst everyone keeps putting down our creative energy? Should we accept as Krishna's arrangement or struggle a little longer to keep our creative enthusiasm alive? Whilst negative, how do we develop positive creativity?
Oh, it's pretty easy. You see, all of us, we come with some type of creative energy even from past life. Right. That's why in the beginning we're very enthusiastic. But as time goes on, that creativity, creative energy, creative impetus becomes wane. So what we need to do is to have a very strong association of people who have that type of creative impetus that we are looking for. Because one of the very laws, one of the models of, you see, again, here is something that I need to share with you. We talk about association as one of the bases of quality development. Now, in criminology, association is also one of the determinants of someone becoming involved in crime. So, in most cases, criminologists have developed these ideas that if you get too close to a criminal, there is the high probability of you becoming a criminal too. Why? The reason is that when we are close to someone, we are imbibing, there's an energy sharing. We are imbibing a culture, a cultural mentality, imbibing some energies from that person. It's like osmotic pressure. In osmosis, when you have two liquids and it's separated by a cell membrane, the strong solution draws a weaker solution. So association is also like that. So according to criminologists, when a criminal, when someone is becoming associated with a criminal, there is high probability that eventually becomes involved in crime. So we want to maintain a high creative impetus. We should associate strongly with those with high creative impetus. That's the bottom line. That will help to sustain our creativity.
Thank you so much.
Any other comments?
There's one more question.
Okay.
So Swamiji, have you written any more sweet literature on Krishna's opulence and pastimes?
What?
If you have written any literature on Krishna's pastimes or opulence?
There are so many literature that I've not even finished reading. From the Goswamis and Prabhupada and from my own spiritual master. So I'm not really in it. I'm not the guy who is in a hurry. I want to preach, I want to plant the seeds, and then, samadhi later.
All right. Then just one more is there. Can you say some more on controlling the senses or our wild desires and the flickering mind?
Controlling the senses. Those are some of the most challenging things to deal with in the material world, because our senses have been associating with the illusory energy for millions and billions of lifetimes. So to just instantaneously control the senses, if someone tells you that, then perhaps they're not being very sincere. So bottom line is that Prabhupada wanted us to eat prasadam. The prasadam also helps to purify us. Now, we are supposed to be vegetarians. No. Are we supposed to be vegetarians? No. We are supposed to be Krishnatarians. So if you buy biscuit outside there and start eating, or bread outside there, any grains, and start eating, because it's a because it's a veg. It's a veg. We are imbibing sinful reactions, because the person who cooks the grains, their mentality goes into the grains. And so when we eat those grains, we imbibe their mentality. And this is one of the reasons why some of us, we get stagnated at some point in time, because we feel that I am traveling a lot, so I will just eat anything that my hands comes by. So prevention is better than cure. We have to be meticulous. Again, we have to be meticulous about the simple rules that Prabhupada has given to us. And that means our eating, our sleeping, and our mating. And controlling the senses, that comes automatically when we are sincerely chanting Krishna's names and we are serving the devotees around us. And sometimes we have a tendency to think, well, I have my guru, I serve my guru, and that's it. No, but then when you're in problem, your guru may not even be there. It is devotees who are available. And therefore, it is important for us to see how we are automatically connected to the system, and we gain the sympathy of devotees through service attitude. When we serve the devotees, they are pleased with us, automatically they will pray on behalf of us to Krishna. That please Krishna, Radha Govinda, Radha London Ishvara, please help this devotee. He's such a nice devotee. She's such a nice devotee. Please help this person. Because Krishna hears the supplications. Krishna aligns with the supplications of his devotees. And so these are simple things. The reason why we need to understand these simple things is that sometimes we think, well, I've been there for decades. I know it all. I know everything. I know what to do to become perfected. But we don't know what to do to become perfected. We need to learn every day. Because the process of learning is a lifelong process. Process of devotional service is a lifelong process. And so every day we learn something new. We have some new realizations. And therefore those things, they help us to boost. They help to boost our impetus for high self-control. You see, we channel Hare Krishna, and automatically we are having that type of high self-control. That is a big problem out there. And if you feel that the Krishna mantra is not working, okay, you stop chanting for 2 weeks and you see what happens to the mind. So, the point is that we have to wake up at a particular time. Use the Brahma Muhurta hour for your japa. Don't eat boga. And don't make offenses to devotees. We'll go back to the beginning. Go back and check out the simple things that we think we have transcended. And then we see that we'll be making expedited progress in our devotional service regarding how to be able to control, how to have high self-control. High self-control is just it's a supplementary element. When it's like when you have a car, you have a spare tire. You don't need to buy another tire to give your child to play with. You have a spare tire already when you get a car. High self-control is just like a spare tire, you have in the car. When you perform devotional service, and to who? Devotional service to who? To the devotees. Devotional service to the devotees. Because Lord Krishna mentioned in the Padma Purana that those who approach him directly to serve him, they are not his devotees. Those who claim to be his devotees, they are not his devotees. Those who are devotees of his devotee, they are the genuine people. So we have to learn and relearn the process of serving one another and being respectful to everyone, honoring everyone as you will honor your spiritual master. And think about it. Suppose you have a spouse, you have a family. You have to take care of a family the way you take care of your spiritual master. These things will help to facilitate or promote our high self-control. Service to the Vaishnavas. Sometimes we talk very big philosophy, but we don't have respect. We don't have honor for our family members. We don't have honor for our children. We don't have honor for our spouses. We don't have honor for other devotees. We treat our spiritual master in one way, we treat every other sadhu in a different way. No. They are all Krishna's servants. And this is one of those things that, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj seriously warned us in that time when he was on the planet. He said, treat all of my God brothers, give all of my facilities, the facilities you're giving to me, give every facility you give to me, give to my God brothers. So devotional service is a very delicate thing, you know. It's so easy to be offensive. So we have to reshape and realign. We have to join as if we are rejoining now, right? In the first time we come to the temple, we have to think like that. All right, thank you very much, Prabhujis and Matajis.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. So let's go back to the basics and rejoin Krishna consciousness. Thank you so much for your very enlivening and fascinating talk. A lot of insight was there. And we really hope to have you back soon. And wish you all the best at Sri Mayapur.
Thank you, thank you.
His Holiness Bhaktivasudev Maharaj Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Hare